So this is the top of the hour. We usually wait a few more minutes to give a chance to other participants to join. So we'll start in a few minutes. Bob, that's a room with a view.
Quite a view out there, but there's no testing going on this morning, maybe this afternoon, and into the conference. So this is one of the 6 FAA UAS test sites, the old Air Force Griffiths Air Base up in Rome, New York. So we have a break and I can join you.
Hello, Robert. It's really nice to see you here. Hello, everyone. Hi, Bob.
Hello, Alex. As usual, we said we wait a few more minutes to give a chance to people to arrive.
Yes. And Sergio just sent a couple of slides. So I'm going to put them on the data tracker, and if you have time, we'll be able to address them as well.
Alexander, do you want to give the intro, or do you want me to do it?
Go ahead, Pascal, while I'm uploading the slides of Sergio, please.
Okay, neat. Okay, so this is an official IETF interim meeting for the LP1 working group. And as usual, we'll go through the not well. And so you're encouraged to read the BCP documents which are listed here. In particular, BCP 79, which deals with the patent rules. So if you're aware of any undisclosed IPR being discussed today, please notify the chairs, the group, or let us know after the meeting. And if you don't want your IPR to be part of the discussion, then please refrain from mentioning that the content of your IPR. Then be also aware of the BCP 25 about anti-harassment. So if you're witness of a situation that's embarrassing, please notify the ombuds team, and you see the URL up there. So contact/ombuds team. So these are the people you should contact in case of misconduct or harassment type of behavior. And with this, let's continue with the meeting. So the meeting is now done under Mitico, meaning that the presence is logged automatically. As you log in to Mitico, your logging is remembered. So if more than one person is attending behind one PC, then please notify us so we can update the presence. The meeting is automatically recorded and will be published, and the video will be published as well. So we have a very simple agenda today. We'll be discussing the progress on the data model. As you know, the data model document is complete for the working group, and now it's being pushed to the ISG. And so during those steps, we have the first IETF last call reviews from Tom Pesch, and we also have some discussion by Eric. So Laurent will present the status on that. We had a number of action items. The first one was to publish the final young model. It took more than one iteration, actually. Sorry. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Just on the agenda, because we had this last-minute submission, so there are two slide sets that were just added to the meeting materials. One is for SHIC over Sigfox, and the other one is for the compound ACK. So these are answers to some of the questions. I suggest that we have, so that there are 5 minutes requested for each of them. So to try to keep 10 minutes to address these two drafts at the end, if that's okay. If we're okay with the time.
Perfect. Sorry, I missed that. So it must have been a very last minute thing.
Yes.
So that changes actually what I wanted to say here, because so we are all set for Laurent to publish the young model. Actually, he published several rounds because we had some comments on the initial versions. So now, as Shepherd, I was happy with the result. And actually, as usual, I missed some stuff that Eric caught. Thank you, Eric. In particular in the BCP 14 text. So now it should be okay. Sergio was to publish a new SHIC over Sigfox and new compound hack, and I have not seen any news, but just at the last minute there was. So we'll add some time in the agenda for Sergio to talk to us about the progress on SHIC and compound hack. And Anna was to publish a new SHIC over NB-IoT. Anna, did you do anything? I've not seen anything on the list.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hello. Yes, I published a new version, but we get some input again from Sergio and Carles. So I didn't get time to work on it, but I will publish again a new version perhaps next week with the modifications.
Okay, so yes, I will again call for comments because the workgroup last call is not officially closed because we are missing comments. So when you do it, please ping me so I can actually pull more comments through the list.
Okay.
Neat. Thank you so much. Workgroup status, no big change. We are actually progressing very well now for most of the documents. So the NB-IoT, as we said, we are close to concluding workgroup last call. SHIC over Sigfox, we are close to starting the last call. The young data model, we have pushed the buttons for requesting publication. That's pretty much it. We don't have a milestone for the architecture. That's interesting. Yes, Anna, please.
Would like to add something for the architecture. So I try to publish today the first version of the working group document, but it sends me an error that it was expecting the version 2. So after some
For which document?
of architecture, draft architecture.
But yes, we have already published a number of versions of it.
But yes, but it has expired.
Yes, but it doesn't matter. Yes, we need to refresh it. We'll be working with Alex and maybe new authors if people want to join. But yes, we need to publish a new version. But even if it's expired, you continue working as if it was not. I mean, if version 2 expired, then we'll need to publish a version 3.
Okay, well, I can tell you the error I get because I was thinking that the error it gives me is because I publish it as working group document 0 and not as draft personal 02.
You're talking about the architecture? Because the
Yes.
architecture is already a workgroup document.
No.
I think. Oh,
No,
okay,
I will.
we'll discuss that offline, and we seem to be out of sync.
Yeah. Okay.
And with this, we'll. So yes, it's hard to read actually, and that's the PDF version. That doesn't help that this thing doesn't take PowerPoint. Yes, as we can see, you can hardly read it now, but the first document is the draft IETF-LPWAN architecture, and yes, I published it 6 months ago, so it's just expired, I guess. So we discussed most of the others. And let us move because we have more items on
Expired,
the
but
agenda.
it's personal. It's not the working group document.
But I mean,
And it's not IETF LP1
but what document is it supposed to be? And now I'm confused.
for architecture.
So, Anna, this is Eric. I'm really afraid that you are wrong on this case, and this is good news for the working group because the architecture document has been adopted. It's already -01, if not mistaken, but it is expired, right? So I sent an email this morning, European time, so that we can get more people working on it because that's important document. All of us in this group knows what is LP1, but many people outside of this working group doesn't know. For instance, Bob wants to use it, I guess for drip, but he does not provide enough information, right? So I can check the document. Please, if you can get some volunteers beyond the current set of authors, would be superb to work on. But it's adopted, so that's a good sign.
Yes, I mean, I after your mail, I decide to publish the document as working group document and not as personal document. But it gives me an error that it is expecting the version 2. So I think it's expecting the personal version 2, in order to be able to publish as IETF document.
And now, do you intend this to be the same document, another document? I mean, do you
No,
start your own architecture, or what's happening here?
no, it's the draft architecture. But
But
we can
I
see
mean,
it offline.
So I think that there is a synchronization point that we need
disconnect
to
here.
make here. Yes, but because when I go to the website, I don't see the same thing as this photo that you have here. Active internet drafts in the working group. The architecture draft doesn't appear there. When I go to the page, but
Alex, the
take-
document has just expired. We need to refresh it. But
Yes.
as Eric said, we were the last published, I think, is 01. So now we need to update it with 02.
Okay. Yes. Exactly.
Correct.
Yes.
Just want to Juan Carlos swing quickly here. Yeah, if the document is expired, you need to refresh it.
Yeah, it just expired. We got the
Progress.
notification, but we need to find the time to work on it. It's just a matter of dedicating some time. But expired doesn't mean much. I mean, as soon as we published 02, then everything will be back on track.
Yes. Okay.
It's more of an indication that, yes, we've been lazy on this document. We need to do some progress.
Yes. Okay. It's clear now. Thanks, Juan Carlos.
Okay.
Okay. There was also one minor point I wanted to say for people that are following the discussions at the core working group. So there was an email about running lightweight M2M over NIDD, and that's an interesting question because right now when we have SHIC, typically you can have IP over NIDD for zero cost, let's say. So then that's going to be and I'm very happy to see that Christian is also here. Hi, Christian. Hello, Christian. So the question is at some point to say, I mean, it's a bigger question than us, right? When there is a question like, okay, do we introduce a new scheme co-op plus NIDD? So should the IETF comply and the people discuss and actually allocate that, or should there be a more specific, like we believe in IP and there is a way to do IP over an NIDD with SHIC that is super efficient. So the way to do correctly co-op and lightweight M2M over an NIDD would be through the use of SHIC. I mean, because of IP, right? Because of the use of IP. So, I mean, I don't know. That's a very interesting discussion, and I think Christian pitched in a very interesting way. So, in any case, I mentioned that there is the NB-IoT draft, and that it is the right time to actually go and do some, to go and it is the interesting time to go and to do some reviews and to give feedback. But in any case. It's just to give you some heads up if you have not seen that discussion on the core working group. So, having said
Alex,
that,
I'm trying to capture what you're saying, but on the minutes. But I guess you will have to do it yourself because that was too quick for me.
Okay, sorry. Yes, I will check over an IDG. Yes. So, okay, I will update. Yes.
I see how I did.
Sorry.
So,
I gave it a try. See how I did.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
by the way, I think I was working on the wrong version of the document. Let me check. Oh, I don't know. I mean, Alexander, you shared the minutes times, and I think you shared the code DMD with 06 in it, and that's the one I used to edit. But apparently, we should be working on 7, but now it's too late. So, Dominic, are you saying that you're also working on minutes?
I'm on 7.
You're on 7, okay. So that's why we have a disconnect, because I've been editing the link that Alex has provided, so I didn't check there was 7 in it. So let me find the right link, because I was alone on it anyway, so it doesn't matter. Nothing is lost but what I've written.
Yes, I pasted the wrong link in the first mail. Then I second.
I think that I'm not the only one on the 06. Okay, anyway. So sorry for that. Okay, so Laurent, do you want to take the ball and start presenting the young model?
So where do I share? You have this presentation. I don't see.
I can share for you, but if you go to the top left, you see the 5 icons. You do screen share.
Share screen. Do you want to? But it's my screen is not.
No, next to screen share. I'm sorry, there is share preloaded slides next to the screen.
Next to the
second button starting from the left. You get the held.
Okay, okay, I got it. So I have to find it. Aggregated. Okay, you have aggregated slides. Okay.
No, not aggregated slides. There is the young.
It's the only one I see.
Oh,
okay, go ahead and share. We don't want to.
I see. I see it. Young, ready to be shared.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes, I got it. Okay. Okay, so I will talk about. So we published a version 12 of the document, and now we are going toward the version 13, and this is thanks to next slide, please, or I can do it. Thanks to the review of Tom and Eric that are very, very constructive, and it will help me to understand more the process to do a young model, and also to improve a lot the documents. So I think it's very beneficial. So I will skip quickly some minor remark that I change in the document. So now I didn't publish the version 13, but it's in the GitHub repository. So here there is no things to say about that. So there's many things also about the time. So we update last time the way we manage the timers, and so now I update the text about and I remove about and I put the real value, which is 1048 something. So I think it's better for that. Okay, so all these comments, thank you, Eric, for this remark. And Tom made also a remark that I think it's very good. In fact, in the text, we put some part of the young model to explain, and it make it very difficult to read. So it has been removed from the text, and now we have just a young model at the end. And I think now that the document is much easier to read. The other thing I made, and maybe I would like to discuss, Eric, if it's what you attempt, because you put a comment that we have to change file identifier with convention for field identifier, and so I did it for all the entry we have in the rule.
But it was not really the same thing, right? Field identifier, okay. It's about how you name the fields, and you make a very sensible thing, right? So the content of the subsection is perfectly fine, but field length, field position are perfectly correct. So I would say 3.3 convention for field identifiers. That's how you name the fields, right, in the Yang module. But 3.4, 3.5, 3.6, and so on, it's simply describing the field themselves. So you don't need to say convention in front. Or if you prefer, you may want to say 3.3 naming convention or something like that for fields or whatever.
Okay, and then I suppress all the subchapter and I just keep naming convention.
Yeah, for 3.3, but you keep 3.4, 3.4, 5, 6, and 7, but you keep the original subsection title, right? So field length, field position, direction indicator, and so on.
Okay, so if I understand well, I put a new chapter with convention for field identifier, and then I keep the other one.
Correct.
Okay. So after that, we have things that have to be discussed also. So Eric raised also a good and dangerous remark, because in fact, at the beginning, when we had the target value, we had a union between a string and a bitmap, and we removed this to just keep the bitmap, because it was very difficult to encode and it created a lot of ambiguities. And in fact, we say that everything is binary, so we keep something binary. The problem is that we didn't say how to convert a string into binary, and that may lead to some problem, and it's not only here that we can have the problem. So in the Young model, for the moment, we use strings only for URI path and URI queries. And if I look at what is given in the COAP RFCs, it says that it's a Unicode string that is encoded in UTF-8. So we can keep the same representation, and it will fit well for COAP. I have just a fear that if we have some other ugly protocol that we want to compress with SHIC, that here we may have some problem. So the question is, do we have to make something more explicit or not for this conversion? And do we care here at the IETF of some ugly protocols that are not IETF? I don't know if I was clear. But
how do you know whether it's what you're getting is binary or UTF-8 when you receive something?
Normally, it's what you compare in this value is used to do comparison. So it's what you send in the field that must be equal, or you have several bits in common. But the coding by itself, it's not really the SHIC business. So maybe we can put something like what is sent in the field, or Dominic?
Yeah, the protocol you're trying to encode will define, to compress, will define the encoding. So why don't we just say we encode here in the rule the same way as included in the compressed protocol.
Yeah, could be good. Coded the same way or in the binary way done by the protocol itself.
Yes, because the way you were saying it with UTF, if the string is not UTF, what do? You convert it to UTF, and that's very strange. So yeah, I mean, whatever is in the field is your reference. So you
Okay,
don't,
so
as you're saying it, you don't even care it's a string. It's just number of bytes.
yeah. So okay, I will just say that as encoded in the header. Okay. Next point is something very funny because we have two remarks from Eric and Tom that say that all one is a little bit confusing. So the remark from Eric was more in some typo in the text. But Tom says that we have two L's and a 1 and they look very similar and it can be a problem. My point of view is that all 1 is something very well known from Chic community. So it could be very difficult to rename. So maybe what we can do in the model is to write all 1 in capitals. So this avoid or the ambiguity is smaller between L and 1.
Now, I am unsure, Laurent, whether all capitals or all uppercase is welcome in a Yang model. There's not a problem on the syntax, but it's quite unusual.
Okay, so what do? We keep all 1 as it is, or we?
But it's inherited from 8724, right? I mean, we use it all the time, so.
But it's not is there any chance to put all -1?
We can put it, but for me it looks more artificial in what we write because from a Chic point of view it's more all 1 like this. But
for me it's not blocking, right? So just a suggestion.
Okay, yeah, but I would like to know if the group has some ideas.
Well, you're supposed to represent 8724, and if you can stick as close that you can to 8724, then the reader will have less confusion.
Okay, so we keep all 1 in small cap. So what has to be done? So is what I learned a lot about the structure of the document. So Eric and Tom makes the same remark that we need some INA consideration. Otherwise, we will not have a Young model. So here I just took the reference from Eric and I changed the parameters to what we have in the Chic document. So if you don't
Laurent?
see any mistake, yeah.
As I was there, I was looking at 8724, and it's all -1 and all -0, A uppercase, LL lowercase, -1 or 0. It's published as this. So.
Okay.
So the Yang models will ever leave with all -1, right? Or all -0 then? Everyone is
yes, and the A capitalized and the L not capitalized.
Okay, so in the Young model, we keep capital letter or we remove it?
Well, if you stick to the document, you should say A capital, LL lowercase, -0, -1. And obviously a capital 0, right?
Yeah. Just, I'm disagreeing, Pascal, because I see many Yang models and all of them are using lowercase. But at least the dash is really important. That's what matters to avoid confusion.
Okay. So here is a parameter. So I think there is no problem here. So I will add this section to the document.
And by the way, Pascal, if you can go back one slide back, you see that IETF and Chic are lowercase, but I said nothing. Just pulling your leg.
Okay. Okay, so the next thing is about add reference. So Tom suggests to add some reference in the young model because it's used by automatic tools to take the information. So I think I cannot, for example, for the description of all the field, maybe it's not useful to repeat it at every time. So, for example, the definition of the identity IPv6 version. So what we can do, for example, is when we create a base identity for a protocol, then here we add the reference to the specification, and it's also in the text, but here we have a reference that can be used by some tools. And we will do the same thing, the reference to 8722 for the grouping and all that stuff. And then there's this reference also have to appear in the internet draft. So I will do it in the next version. And the last point, yes, there is an abstract because that has to be reviewed. And the last point is about security. So we need to have some security consideration. And for me, it's something I didn't really analyze before. So I think we will have to get a discussion on the mailing list or in the group. So because in fact you have several points. So you have to fill a template. So here we have the template. So I just put in yellow what is a template, and the template focus on netconf and restconf. But I think, and I look in the architecture, we are also referencing core-conf. So the question is, do we extend the security consideration and put a reference to core-conf and the fact that we can use coap-s or not? And then we have to look at the module. So for me, any element in the young model is rateable because the goal is to synchronize rules between two elements, so they have to exchange information. So we have to write some text about that.
Laurent, if I may say, obviously, since you operate on RESTconf, you might say that you inherit the security properties of RFC, blah, blah, blah. But that's not the most of what's being asked here. What's being asked here is which kind of inventive attacks could use SHIC as the attack vector? And I'm thinking of, something like an infinite expansion or something that would blow the buffers. I don't know, the usual.
Pascal, if you don't mind interrupting here, right? So this problem about the young models with missing security templates is happening quite often. And I'm just handling a DHECP, which is another working group of mine, young models. So the best way is really to copy and paste the first two paragraphs, okay? And the one starting with, there are numbers of data nodes, blah, blah, you copy characters by characters. But then the big issue is to list subtrees and data nodes and state why they are sensitive. This is where you can say the complete tree is sensitive, which is acceptable, of course, because you can write, and then you can say, write stupid rules that can expand forever, for instance.
Yeah, that was what I was getting at. I mean, what would be the impact of a forged set of rules? Could you attack the router that does compression or decompression in such a way that the code loops, or the code does buffer violation, or the code does this or does that? And it's not just the model, but it's what you write in it somehow.
For me, the main problem is if you can write the rule off another device, or you are not allowed to do that, and you change some parameter, and this way you can even get the traffic to your site or make the traffic
Yeah, that's
unreachable.
exactly. So if you can be kind of inventive in this section, I mean, having done everything that Eric said first, the byte copy of the first sentences. Yeah, try to think how a creative attacker could use a model. He could attack the device, but the model is also to be installed on every router. That needs to decompress, meaning that if the model that he gets forces him to do something very weird, like, for instance, it cannot go too far because you don't have a method which is like a loop, right? So you can't create something which will write forever. So you can mention it, right? The rules and the operations are cannot make you write to infinity, for instance. So that's something to mention, I guess.
Yes, and I think that this has to be reflected also in the architecture draft, because security has to be taken into consideration in this document.
So let me write a to-do for the security section of the architecture. Okay, I'm writing a to-do for myself. Okay, that's a good point.
And I think it's my last slide. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Laurent. That's perfect. So it moves. Things advance very well on the Yang model. So hopefully soon we'll end this monumental work. I mean, it's super important. Okay, so thanks, Laurent. We have
Alexandre,
yes?
if you don't mind, I think you are taking notes. What you added, this security considerations needs to go to the architecture document as well, but really needs to go as well, right? So it needs to be done into the Yang as well.
Okay, I'm writing it down, Eric. I have an action point to myself on the architecture, and then one on Laurent for the same thing on his document.
Thank you.
Yes. Thanks, Eric. So given that we are right on time actually, and we have even a couple of minutes spare, so we can go on with the presentation of the additional slides that we had. So let me see. Actually, I need to see how to put them. So with the SHIC over Sigfox, the compound ACK, and also there was some very interesting discussion with so Robert Bob initiated a couple of discussions about DTLS. So I hope that in the remaining 20 minutes we'll be able to go over these three topics. So they're all on the data tracker, and yes, slides, but I can't seem to be. Pascal, can you show them, because I don't remember. I don't see them.
Import the documents, right?
Okay, share. Yes, share preload slides. Yes, but one. Okay.
So it's coming and going. Do you have an issue? Do you want me to do it?
Yes, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
So first thing is young data model. I need to upload slides. Okay, and we start with Componac, if you don't mind. That's okay. So Sergio, do you want to present it yourself, or do you want me to move the slides, Sergio?
If you want, you can move the slides.
Okay.
Well, this is the presentation regarding the Compound Act. Mostly the presentation, well, is about the review of Dominique about the document. So you can, so basically we have, well, a version 05 in the GitHub repository, but we haven't put the new version. In this new version, we remove any reference to the check receiver abort. In this case, well, it was a mistake of mine that I thought the receiver abort was part of the Appendix D, but no. So at the end, well, we just remove everything regarding the receiver abort and just added a note that says that there is a difference between the receiver abort and the compound ACK, mostly because of the CBIT that is set to 1 in the receiver abort and is set to 0 in the compound ACK. Next slide. Another question about Dominique is that in Chick the padding is not defined. So in the implementation, you can choose the padding bits that you want. So he asked us if it was possible to have the same in the compound ACK, that padding bits were not mandatory 0 in this case. Well, the compound ACK has a variable size, so we need to know when the end of the compound ACK is in this case. So instead of having all bits 0 padding with 0 value, we change it to only having n bits with 0 value. So in this case, those n bits will signal the stop of the compound ACK. And if you need more padding bits after the n bits, you can have any padding value that you wanted. And that's how we think that we are able to have this not saying what the padding bits should be, but we just need n padding bits to signal the end of the compound ACK. In case there are less than n bits, you can have any padding bits you want because you don't have an m there to see if you have a Windows value. Also, it's not here, but we added also examples in this version 5 with the compressed bitmap. We added a couple of examples of how to use the compound ACK with the compressed bitmap in the last bitmap. And the next slide. This will be the last one. And the last one is that we remove any reference to any other draft, in this case, the RFC of LoRaWAN, as the compound ACK works with current profiles, as we are not changing any other compatibility with any other message. We are just varying the failure ACK, and so then we remove any reference. So that's the comments of Dominique, and that's are the changes that we have already done, and we are just waiting for a response from Dominique that everything is okay, so we can push version 5. We can publish version 5. I don't know if anyone has any comments.
Oh, thank you, Sergio. Actually, I was your shepherd, but I won't be. You know that Alexander will be the one pressing the button. As soon as Dominique wishes to speak, we'll say okay, I guess. Yes, Dominique?
Well, I just wanted to say you're on top of my list of things to do for this group now. I will answer you shortly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dominique.
So Dominique, sometimes your mic is at the right place, the voice is perfect, and the next second the mic is slightly off and it's hard to hear. So Sergio, if you're done with these slides, you want me to load the Sigfox ones now?
Yes, please.
Okay, let me do that.
These ones are regarding the Shepard review that Anna did. Thank you very much, Anna. It's just a couple of questions. So let's see if
I don't see them. Sorry. Give me a microsec. It seems that I did not upload that one. I thought I did. So check reverse Sigfox. Okay, it should be there now. There we go.
Excellent. So, well, this one is about that Shepard review. The first question was if we have everything regarding the Appendix F of RC 8724. In this case, we reviewed the text that we got, and we added a new text that in this case it is that it is recommended for the fragment receiver to send an uplink transmission, for example, an empty message, and request a downlink every 24 hours when no check sessions is started. This is for not in case a downlink needs to be sent to the device and there is no uplink session currently, so that there will be every 24 hours a message that will allow this to unblock the downlink transmission. So yeah, well, we added this new text, and well, next slide. The other question was regarding the use of the D tag and well, tick packet interleaving. In this case, mm, we see that in chick over sigfox, the packet interleaving is performed with rule IDs, and we have this text in the draft that says that rule IDs can be used for different things, and one of those are for packet interleaving between for having different sessions, and we are waiting to confirm an update of how these rules can be used and how they are going to be used actually in chick over sigfox, and that's the minimal thing we're waiting this update so that we can push the new version of the draft. And just to say, this new version includes a bit of changes includes the new versions of the messages and includes a variation in how it's ordered the different modes that are available.
So Sergio, the same question as last time for you is, do you think that this new version 5 is ready for workgroup last call?
Yes. I would say
Okay.
that when we publish this version is ready for working group last call, we just need to add this. I don't know if it will be an appendix or where we will add it or on the recommendation on how to use the rule IDs. But other option is to push version 5 now, and then in version 6 with the comments of the working group last call add those details. But I'm not sure if that's okay, or should we wait a bit and do the
I
working group
suggest
last
you
call
put
with
5
version.
and we start the workgroup last call, because you will get this command and many other commands. Since it's very editorial, I think it can be fixed with the other workgroup last call commands. I'd like to start it because the IETF is in 2 months, less than 2 months now. So if we could have completed the workgroup last call and if possibly completed the discussion, then we would be able to ask publication around the IETF timeframe, which would be very good.
Okay, so for me, I will talk to Juan Carlos. Well, I know he's here, so so that we can push this new version and we can start. Well, then we will ask you the chairs to start a working group last call, and from there we will move forward with a new version with all the comments that we receive.
Neat. So we're all good. Thank you very much, Sergio.
Thank you.
We have any question on Sigfox before we go to the next item? And so I'm hearing nothing. So we have Bob's discussion on chick over DTLS. So Alex, I will leave you the floor.
Yes, I mean, I just put what Bob said on the email. I put it on one slide and added the two last, like the last line is from me. So that was for full disclosure, right? So I give the floor to Bob, because basically the point was to say, okay, well, there is this question about DTLS and SHIC, how they work together. There have been some work, and it's really interesting to hear, because Bob comes with a real use case, and so I think
Okay,
funny
thank
to,
you,
yes.
Alex, for the introduction. I started out by looking at the Diet ESP, which is right now Chic Lite, but we want to move it to full Chic. And the question came up is, how do you know inbound that this ESP header has been compressed with Chic? And we can play games with the SPI and our SPI tables to say, oh, this must be a Chic compressed and apply the implied Chic rule. We can kind of do that, but it's dangerous. But once you get to DTLS, I've looked at it and I don't think it's at all possible to play that game with DTLS and also get the UDP header compression, which is very important. And so to do that, I'm looking at a rather dangerous thought of introducing a new IP protocol. Of course, we know with firewalls and gateways and other things about adding something there. But if Chic was its own IP protocol, and so you have that the next header is the Chic rule, and this Chic rule says here's our UDP compression or whatever, and then going on. It makes for a much cleaner implementation and fewer problems that I see in getting this out. This is important in the way that I'm seeing to do end-to-end Chic, because I'm looking at multi-interface communication, starting out first Wi-Fi, switching cellular, switching to UHF, back again, or maybe simultaneously over multiple to make sure the message gets through. So you can have the same packet going 3 different ways, and you hope one of them gets through to the endpoint. So that's where I'm coming from my use case here. And the only way I'm seeing to ring this out is that I have Chic right there, right above IP. Unless wiser people who work with this see another way of doing it. I know I'm stepping in a quagmire by proposing this.
Bob, I'm not saying it's a good idea, but it's probably a very bad idea. But we already defined an IPCP, or we are defining an IPCP, so we can do Chic over PPP. So if you do PPP over IP, you're all set. But what's the point of compressing if you add layers? So it's probably a bad idea. Just mentioning it on the page.
But Pascal, I'm not sure. I'm losing you from time to time.
You're saying you can't hear me well? That's it?
Yeah, that's it. It was, you were fading away a little bit.
Oh, okay. So I was saying we have a similar problem on Sterling basically. So what we are doing is we are defining a new PPP compression, so a new IPCP compression for PPP. And so if you transport a PPP session, then you would inherit this. Now it's probably a bad idea because we are compressing, and now I'm asking you to add layers over layers just to transport, PPP or IP. So it's probably a bad idea, but I was just mentioning that you could do it.
Yeah, so you steal somebody else, GDP or something like that, and then assign a number that this is really Chic, not what you've done in the past with it. You may potentially break old implementations doing that, but that is one way because you already have the number assigned. Interesting thought.
Laurent?
Yes, okay, my mic is on. Yes, I think it could be useful also for 6LoWPAN, because in 6LoWPAN we have this. We ask for we may ask for a number to say that is Chic, but if we have a protocol, upper layer protocol above IP that is Chic, it could be useful.
I can look at some of the tunneling protocols and see which one we can go camping on their turf. But having Chic's own, I feel would be, go for the gold. and see what the 6-man people have to say about it.
Yeah, there's a distinction between what you transport and how you encode it. Like here we are signaling an encoding as opposed to it's still the upper layer of this ULP is still the same ULP. It's just that it's being compressed. So it looks like the ULP is not Chic. It's a meta associated to that ULP.
You have to signal the stack what to do with the packet.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
this is
understand,
chic. Send it over to the chic processor.
but agreed. But compared to how we do it at the PPP layer, it's we don't say it's still the same session, if you like. We signal the session the old same way. It's just that we have signaled first that this section will be, so you need to have a point-to-point session. It starts there because there can be a lot of traffic between devices. So you have one or multiple sessions between 2 points. And for each of those sessions, you will have a chic compression. So from the same A to the same B, you could have more than one chic session going on. And so you need to, it's basically a session prom. And so now we are encoding it in the URP, and it's not the right layer. So it's kind of weird. Just mentioning. If you could establish a
True,
session,
there are some
okay,
cases you do it one way, and some cases you do it the other way. And if I need to have like two different ones with ESP or with DTLS, I have the CID or the SPI to indicate which sheet rules are to be used. So that there is a way to accommodate that. But there is this specific use case. And when I particularly look at the popular Mavlink protocol, nobody's out there using it yet, but it looks like somebody's getting set up. And it's like, what can I do in this arena where I don't have, you gentlemen know what all these constrained RF networks, we don't have elbow room. So how do we squeeze it in? And I need to do this above IP, but below security frame. And that's doing it right there at the transport layer.
Right, but at some point you negotiate this ESP session, right? And so
again,
part of that negotiation, sorry.
You negotiate it, but you still have to have coding in your stack. When that packet comes in, how do you recognize it?
Well, because
Yes,
it's
I
coming
use Ike
from
to
the
do the-
security association, right? If you have a particular, because you have a session for the security, for the crypto, you have a session between A and B, right? So the
Well, I will
session knows
forward you-
what key knows stuff.
Yeah. I will forward you the message that we had on the IPsec.me list. Scott Fleur came up with again how we can play games with, since Ike assigns the inbound SPI, since you know what spies you get are controlled through Ike, you can control which SPI you set so that when it comes in, you can say, oh yeah, this is really a cheat compressed. Even though I only got 1 byte of the 32 bytes of the 4 bytes of the SPI, it is this particular one, and pass it over. But it's a kludge. It's an out and out kludge to do that. It's to get wrong.
But Bob,
Yeah.
if you still need to tie the rules and the current state to one session, right?
Yeah.
It's not
But
enough to say the
then there
protocol
was
is this. You need also to
the-
say the session is this, right?
I think so. Just one point. I mean, TCP also you have like I mean, you can have the ports and all that, but you need to signal some way that hey, I have TCP on top. So on the IP layer, you don't know what's happening, or you theoretically don't know what's happening, but you say, okay, I have TCP on top. So the
Well,
same
you
way
would need a next header. I mean, yeah, even if you
you
have
can say
next
I
header
have
check,
chick on top, and then the question is, so this is where the question is, how should that work? Do we need this chick over IP document where probably we need to do that additional work of maybe stating some number of some set of predefined chick rules that could be used for for bootstrapping, or there is something else, right? I mean, the way we currently do when we want to run chic over IP is like we encapsulate IP in UDP, and then we say, okay, well, there is the UDP port on the other side, and I mean, and then you start using chic on top of that over IP UDP. So the way I see it, it could be if there is a use case to start. I mean, if there is a specific question like this, like okay, there is a use case, as Bob says, I have a use case where I would need IP, I would need SHIC over IP directly. So why not start, describing it, and so that the description is already there, but try to have this discussion on a specific document and to see where it goes. So maybe the conclusion will be, it's too complex and we do it in another way, or maybe the conclusion is, okay, we just need to assign a protocol number, and then we need to consider these other considerations in the architecture document, for example.
I'm only interested. I buy what you're saying, Alex. So let's move on with this. I have another question, Bob.
Yeah.
Do you do V4, V6, both? Do you need V4 as well?
I don't think I need a bot for this. I mean,
You-
somehow we got to get it in front of the 6-man people to see what sort of a panic it causes for them. That's going to be Eric's job, probably. But I can, over the next week, I can rough out a draft, put it to the list, and then we can start a discussion, see where it goes. I don't think we need a bot for it.
I'm asking Bob because if it's V6 only, then it doesn't have to be a URP. It's just a next header, and if it's a next header that something you place in this well, you have to find where you place it. But the next header would tell you, oh, it's SHIC. It could also have a session ID or something. Because, like I said, you need a little bit more than just saying it's SHIC. You need to say
Well,
which
that's why it said chic, and then there'll be a rule ID, a 1-byte or 2-byte
the
rule
rule
ID,
ID
which will tell you.
will be inside the data for SHIC. But even before you have a rule ID, remember this thing is designed
Okay.
for point to point. You need to keep that in mind. It's designed for point to point. So there is an implicit knowledge that everything that is going between those two guys is a single SHIC session. And if you go over IP and far away, do you have a single SHIC session between two guys? Could there be that you have more? There are questions to answer. With the IPCP, we clearly say, hey, you can have multiple PPP sessions between two guys. And so the session is now a point-to-point thing, and now we can do SHIC into it.
I'm looking at the point-to-point because, as you indicate, doing the multiple introduces all sorts of variability and complexities, and then you can get quickly buried in the weeds. If we keep the use case straightforward, let me put some things together next week, Pascal, and get it out. And the only reason maybe for the higher visibility is that this is to be a new header, a new next header value, and what does 6-man have to say about that?
Yeah, if you have a new next header, then you can always place some data in that header. That's what I'm getting at.
Yes.
Right. And
Well,
then the
that's what I'm
next header
basically
after that would be IP, but it's all compressed. And would be TCP, I'm sorry, or whatever URP you have.
Laurent, maybe some final thoughts?
Laurent?
You're muted.
Mike. If we have a next header, do we need upper layer protocol, or can we have a next header and no layer 4 protocol after? I'm not sure of that.
But it will have a next header, right? I mean, the
Yes.
next header has a next header.
Yes, but if we have no next header after the next header,
The way I'm seeing it is that it is variable in terms of the format. It could be the next header SHIC, 0 bytes, and right away you see the DTLS, the compression, which is UDP compressed to 0 and DTLS, and then the rest of it. So I can see this working different ways, just like you do right now in SHIC.
And the other comment is that it's something we already discussed with Carlos, and I think it's something we have to investigate more, is SHIC on mesh network.
Fun. Yeah.
Okay. But yes, I mean, I agree, Bob, with what you said.
Yeah. Okay, I thank you for your time. And I'll, start a document and get it out to you.
Perfect.
Okay.
Well, thanks a lot, Bob. That's really interesting use case, and we'll yes, we'll follow up with this. I think it's a very promising discussion.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
Have a
You're
good day,
breaking up,
all.
Alex.
Sorry.
But yeah, you are breaking up. But
Okay.
yes, we'll follow up on
Yeah.
the mailing list, and we are at the top of the
Okay.
hour. Actually, we're past the top of the hour, so I guess we have to let people go. But thank you, Bob. That's a very interesting thought and very interesting discussion. So let's follow up on the mailing list.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hi.
Bye. Bye all.